Welcome to another one of my video blogs. I'm author and ghostorian Mike Ricksecker. It's raining again outside, so I've set up inside, and hopefully this works out all right. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about this whole Slender Man deal that's going on right now. Maybe deal's too light of a term. I don't want to call it an epidemic, but it seems to be a rash of cases coming out in the last couple weeks that are in reference to Slender Man. The first being two girls that stabbed their friend in Wisconsin, another girl that stabbed her mother, and people are trying to draw a correlation between this Las Vegas shooting and Slender Man. Apparently the guy dressed as Slender Man for Halloween. And I think that was a little far-fetched, but mostly what I want to touch base on are the cases with the girls, and how young they are and how impressionable they may be. As a creative person myself, I would be upset if somebody took one of my characters that I created and ran with that to the point where they're trying to kill somebody, in the name of that character. It would be extremely upsetting to me, even though it might be a villain that I had created. Certainly not my intention. So I do empathize a bit with the creator there of Slender Man in that regards. I think what's really concerning to me is that they want to charge these girls as adults, and they're so young. They're 12 years old, and so there's a large degree of impressionability there. And for those that are watching, Slender Man is not real, okay? It's a fictional character. The internet community has done a fantastic job of making this like the internet boogeyman, but it's not real. It's Freddy Krueger or any one of those other type of villains. It's you need to be very careful with something like this. I know there's been this community has really spun off, done a lot of artwork. Some of the artwork, although creepy, is very fantastic. And there's things like ARGs, alternate reality games, that are based on Slender Man. And for those of you that don't know what an alternate reality game is basically a game that's played that's seemingly real, that the content of it seems like it is taking the perspective of as if it is really happening. One that I played a number of years ago was called Missing in January, and that was one that you could actually buy in the store, and it came on a CD, and basically you plugged it in the computer, and it was as if the CD was a tool that was hiring you on to be a little private investigator on the side, helping this group collectively try to find these couple of missing people. And you would log into a special website. You would get emails that were very real-like, that seemed like they were coming from other people that were participating in the investigation, from the actual authorities and things like that. So it seemed very real. And for those that may go off on some tangent about saying, well, if you're creating a game that's seemingly real and you've involved Slender Man and it makes it seem real. For those tens of millions of Lost fans, the producers of Lost created ARGs between the seasons. So it's not uncommon. It's actually a very common type of game that is found mostly on the internet. And so that has helped to kind of enhance this seemingly real personality of the Slender Man. These girls have taken that too far. Now, their age, 12 years old, they're kind of at that in-between state there where they're figuring out that certain things are real and what isn't real and things like that. They're still quite young. I mean, granted, maybe they should know that Slender Man is not real. But for an example from my past, I was probably a little bit younger than 12, but I had convinced the neighborhood kids that we were going to run off and find the G-Force team from Battle of the Planets. This is early 80s. So granted, they're cartoon characters, but I convinced everybody that we were going to go find them and visit them. And so we took off down the hill through the woods, and were, quote unquote, lost for a while. We knew exactly where we were. But my mother called the police, and there was a big to-do about it, and eventually the neighbor's aunt found us and picked us up, and they're all worried and crying, and we're like, what's going on? But just an example of a child not quite differentiating between what's real and what's not. And so talking about taking these these young girls, trying them as adults, and you convict them, they're in there with hardened criminals, and you've basically now destroyed a couple of lives that could be rehabilitated. You can throw them in there with hardened criminals that are just going to teach them more about how to be hardened criminals, and they'll come out and what are they going to do? They're going to now implement those things that they learned in prison. So I think there's better alternatives than charging them as adults. And really, if you think about it, and it's a debatable issue, of course, but they're not allowed to drink, they're not allowed to smoke, they're not allowed to vote, they're not allowed to go die for their country, not allowed to, did I say drive? All these different things that we have deemed that are, adults, things that are for adults. And we don't let those things for the small children. So should we then turn around and say, well, if we're going to try them as adults, we'll give them access to the alcohol, and really, think about it. Okay, we're going to charge you as an adult. Well, since you're adult now, here's a bottle of Jack, a cigarette, and go get laid. Come on, give me a break here. That, I think, is taking it too far. Granted, I completely empathize with the families that have been hurt over this, and I think there should be obviously some punishment. I believe these girls should be helped, and I believe there needs to be some sort of awareness about what's real and what's not. It kind of reminds me of the whole War of the Worlds with Orson Welles, and that threw people into a panic because they didn't realize it wasn't real. So now we have things like your station breaks in the radio that identify themselves and all that that came out of that. So maybe this Slender Man community and these different websites that promote this character and have all the artwork and the stories and the ARG and all that, maybe the community needs to take it up under their wing. I don't want to get into a debate about regulating the internet, but something needs to be done to kind of remind people, hey, this is a work of fiction. It's not real. I can make Slender Man manifest behind me right now, but it's not real. It's because I'm going to superimpose him onto this video. That doesn't make him real. It just means that I've manipulated the video to put him there. Not real. And so, again, if it was me, and if it was my character, I would certainly be upset about it. The families, thoughts and prayers definitely go out to the prayers of these families. It's absolutely horrific what has happened, that for whatever reason these girls have felt compelled to do these horrible acts, and in their minds they've incorporated this character into the whole mix. So I'm going to wrap up what I'm calling the Slender Man Sound Off. Please go ahead and subscribe to my video blogs. You can comment below. I do hope to get some comments and feedback on this, and maybe I'll address it in another video, maybe on my blog, on my website, something. I will address any questions, comments. I will definitely provide some feedback too. So website is MikeRicksecker.com. All the books and everything are out there. And then of course I'm on. Welcome, friends of the Fedora, and I know I just got off my soapbox about Slender Man, and I am about to go into my own little creative world here with the Chase Michael DeBarlow great mystery that's going on out there on my website. So like I said before, it is, somebody's creative work. Just keep in mind that it's not real, just as mine that I'm portraying here is not real. Chase Michael DeBarla is a fictional character. But if you go to my website in the link provided, you will find a mystery that has been going on now for a few weeks and is going to carry out for quite a while. And I hope you're able to piece it together. No, this still is not my fedora. That is still missing, so this one I am borrowing. It's kind of reminds me of when we moved out of Frederick, Maryland, and my son Chase lost his fedora, which was named Harry. It was Harry the Hat, and somewhere lost in the move. Don't know what happened to it. So it kind of reminds me of that. And this particular Friends of the Fedora segment, if any of you are familiar with my work, System of the Dead, and you don't have to read the book to partake in the story or the piece that's on the website, but it is some backstory. In that book are some codes that you can put together and piece together, and this segment actually has something to do with that. So if you've read the paperback version of the book and you're familiar with those codes and you've pieced it together, this will be familiar to you. So I hope you enjoy that. Again, hit up the website, please subscribe, like the video, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff. Until next time.